Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Today we are discussing something new for 2023, the 126 generation of the Rolex Oyster Perpetual GMT-Master II, now in yellow gold, resplendent in Jubilee matching bracelet. The watch, reference 126718 GRNR, which sounds like a band that would have been popular at the end of the 80s, but this is very much a watch for today. 40 millimeters in diameter, 12.2 millimeters thick, 48 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 49.5 millimeter total distance across the wrist when you include the end links of the bracelet, and a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. It is massive. Rolex watches in gold have a quality to them that almost gives you the impression of a different brand's watch in full platinum. The solid links, thick gauge clasps, solid case backs, and robust cases give these Rolex gold watches the feel of platinum, and that is an extraordinary testament to their build quality. You can see on the wrist, nice and low. There's a little bit of an outcropping to the bezel, but it's not going to hang up on a dress cuff. You could absolutely wear this with formal attire. And again, the heft and the balance from top to bottom, watch down to clasp, it's wonderful. You could wear this loose and it wouldn't move around much. I can envision this actually wearing well on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference, because you could see that the end links of the bracelet are pivoted and that they don't project far beyond the case. So this watch, though it has quite a presence in gold, it actually doesn't wear that big, which is good. If you've worn previous GMT Masters, this will fit just fine. The bracelet's lovely. Remember I talked about solid links? Well, you can see here the solid center links are what helped define the solidity of the current generation of the Jubilee. Also, having many small cross-section links, it's a little bit more supple and flexible than the Oyster. You can also see that it has a lot more vents to relieve the heat, sweat, moisture of the wrist on a hot day. Today's Super Jubilees can be used as sports watch bracelets. We have removable links here, fixed in place by screws, and quite a few of them, so you are going to get the right feel and fit. The clasp internally has two different adjustment mechanisms. One, a pair of divots times 3. So we've got these 3 pairs of divots, and you can see the little tracks leading into the divots to help you line this up. There's a spring bar. Use your strap tool. You can change the anchoring point of the bracelet inside the clasp. There's also the 5 millimeter snap-in, snap-out, tool-free easy link system. You can see all of the gauge of the gold is thick. We have a double locking system, a spring-loaded lift lock. That's the first layer of defense. You can see the beak and the hook internally. That snaps shut. There's a second lock, clamshell style, a little curve so you can dig your nail in to quickly and easily pop it open, but it does have double locking. Rolling around to the outside of the clasp, you can see, as with the bracelet, a combination of polish and satin, and you can see the same on the case. Lug hoods here are satinated, case flanks are polished. This is the so-called super case profile that's been with the GMT since 2005, and it does have the appearance of a bigger watch, but no, it still measures 40. Although the watch is technically 100 meters water resistant, it has the trip-lock crown design that you find on the divers and the more hardcore models, so you know it's a trip-lock in gold because the center dot is the largest, and there's 3 of them. Screw down crown, screwed in Oyster case back, 100 meter water resistance. Rolex has its own foundry. It makes its own cases, clasps, and bracelets. Also makes dials, hands, movements, even shock protection and lubricants used. Rolex is the most vertically integrated manufacturer, rivaled, frankly, only by Swatch as a group and the world of Seiko. Now we have the GMT Master bezel, first introduced in late 1954. The idea back then was that you would set your time to Greenwich Mean Time, or GMT. So the time showed by the 24-hour hand and the local hand would be the same, just in a different format. You would then use the GMT offset plus or minus of your destination airport to gauge the destination time. So those original GMT Masters were basically one time zone with a calculator bezel for a second. But since 1983, we've had the option of a GMT Master II, which is what we have here, which means you can set the local 12-hour hand independently of the 24-hour hand, even jump in the date forward and backwards as you travel east and west. Now, the thing that's nice here is that you have the ability to set 2 separate time zones and then calculate a third using the bezel, the same way as you would have. It's It's easiest if you set the 24-hour hand to Greenwich Mean Time. Now note, while I'm moving the local hour hand around, doesn't affect the 24-hour hand, doesn't affect the minute hand, doesn't stop the seconds. But if I pull the crown out all the way, now it's in hacking seconds mode. You can see this is how you set the 24-hour hand. You set it first, then you set the local. You can also see the seconds hand is stopped, so we are in hacked seconds mode. A little bit about this bezel. It has a wonderful feel to it, and it has a super sharp combination satin and polished knurling that is easy to grip even with gloves. Now you can see this is a little bit of a different kind of a two-tone, as we've got a ghostly gray, a little bit of a tribute to the long-running shadow and ghosted Rolex bezels. As they age, they do take on that sort of medium gray tone, but we combine it here with black for a super subtle grayscale shift, and then we have deposits of yellow gold for all of the characters. We'll do a lume shot here. Rolex has its own proprietary chromolite blue lume. You can see all four hands are luminescent, so you can read this watch regardless. And then we have a dial base that's black lacquer, yellow gold hands and indices. The reason for that, they won't fade or oxidize over time. Inside, we've got the latest caliber 3285, the double time zone automatic bidirectional winding. The rotor's now on a bearing rather than the old jeweled staff. 70-hour power reserve, 4 hertz beat rate, 31 joules. Full balance bridge with a free sprung balance for shock tolerance, and via the free sprung balance, also great precision of adjustment. Handmade overcoil hairspring Breguet profile and anti-magnetic with parachrom blue alloy. The overcoil profile means the watch keeps very consistent time in every position. Parachrom blue is a niobium zirconium alloy that is highly anti-magnetic, so this watch shock resistant, 100 meters water resistant, highly anti-magnetic. And of course, it is a superlative chronometer, which is the modern Rolex standard for a fully cased up watch with a chronometer certified movement tested in 6 positions to run no worse than -2 +2 seconds per day. And this watch does that. It is simply stacked. And again, this is the latest variant for 2023, hot off the presses, the 126 generation, now in yellow gold, Jubilee bracelet, combination of black and ghost smoked gray bezel. And the bezel, of course, has an insert of ceramic, so very, very scratch resistant. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.